Hi everyone, it's Donna Joseph here. So I'm about to share with you an amazing interview that I've had with Jeremy Indika. And I'm not going to say too much here because I really want you to watch the interview and you will find out about his amazingly courageous story. And one of the main reasons I've put this out, it's more so than to bring awareness to his story, which obviously I'm doing with this, but it's also to encourage more conversations with children to be opened up about child abuse and for more education with parents, with children. And what I love about Jeremy, as I say in this interview, in fact, I think I open it up with this, is just how I just love how he's really, from his experiences, he's using what I say and call the gift of experience to try and eradicate this problem, try and get rid of it once and for all. So as those that know me will know, child abuse, child sexual abuse is very, very, very dear to my heart. And I want to try and do my bit and open this area up so that we can do anything that we can to prevent this horrific act from keep happening. So I hope you enjoy the interview. Just finally, I have major problems with my lighting in this video. I am by a window and you'll see that it's at some point I think I have to stop the video, actually the recording, and or edit it out because it got so bright. So that's not important. What's being said in this interview is what's important. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, please. And if you have got anything, any ideas that you have or any experiences yourself, then please do get in touch with me. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. All right, enjoy the interview. Take care. Bye-bye. Jeremy, I just want to say, I was blown away by your story and your courage. And I don't know from what you've seen on my podcasts, where I'm sort of sharing a little bit about my story. I'm covering areas of my story. But the one thing that I really kind of, I don't know, really resonated with me, for me as a child, I carried a lot of guilt and shame due to abuse that happened to me. So I think when I saw your story, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy has actually done what I believe many, many survivors of abuse would want to do. And you've gone through it and you're still here to tell the tale. And what I love as well about you, Jeremy, is what I'm seeing of you, what's coming from Facebook and coming from YouTube, is you are not stopping. We're going to talk about your story today, but you are not stopping, are you? You have got a mission in mind. And I love how you're just like, you're not I don't know what the right saying is, but you're going for it, on point. You are going for it. You're like, this is it, this is what's going on, let's explore it, let's get to the bottom of it, and let's get it out there so this stops happening. And that's what I'm really feeling from you.
Yeah, and it's exactly how I feel. It's almost like I'm all in. Yeah, and I won't stop talking about it in the most engaging and different ways that I possibly can. I just feel that it's just way too important to for us to not try something out, to try to get it communicated, to try to expose what's going on, to try to communicate the realities of what's happening. And yeah, I'm so glad that you said that, because I do feel like I'm on a mission, and I do feel like the momentum is building with the work, and I'm getting connected to more people, and it's feeling like there's this real feeling of strength coming through now.
Yeah, I can feel that. And so I'm going to do an introduction now and just share a little bit about what I know about you. And then hopefully then from there on, you can put me right, get it right. So thank you, Jeremy. Indika, have I said that correctly? Indika. Yes. Thank you, Jeremy, for coming on today for my episode of Searching for Truth. So I first heard about you. It was I believe either in the papers or I heard about it being in the papers. I don't think, because I don't read papers anymore, but I think I heard about a story of yours in the papers where you had knocked on your abuser's door from when you were a child and tried to talk to him. And actually, it all turned around to you then being in trouble for that. And the perpetrator was then trying to get you into trouble. So that was just like, what? What? And since then, I have been following you, and I know there's been a court case. I know there's been an outcome, and obviously here I am talking to you today. So, Jeremy, would it be best, do you think, then, if you started from the beginning and shared your story, and we'll just see how it flows from there?
Yeah,
and then what I really want to do is talk about, towards the end of the interview, talk about this mission, talk about solutions, and hopefully you and I will be talking about that, and listeners as well will be listening, and hopefully we can get more people supporting this kind of hidden area, isn't it? Really,
yeah.
it's hidden, and that's why you are playing such an important role here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you would like me to start? Yeah,
I would love you to start.
Yeah. Okay. So the sexual abuse that happened to me when I was a child was started when I was around 8 years old, went on for a number of years. It was by another man. He was around 25 years old, and he had access to me because he was helping out the family with childcare. So that's how it all started. And this abuse would go on for a number of years, and then it went away. And I'm not actually sure how it went away. Possibly he wasn't involved in the childcare anymore, and it all stopped. Now, what's really interesting, and I'm very thankful for, is when the abuse finished, I actually returned back to the child that I was before. I continued to be energetic, very social, had a great set of friends, was doing very well at school. And actually, looking back at it now, you would have never known that I had been through what I'd been through. So I just continued my life like this. I grew into a young teenager. I then finished my college years, and I got into a career as a design engineer working in the aerospace industry. I had that was a fantastic career for me. It was going really well. My friends were still the friends that I had from school. And like, I was a 21-year-old with everything going for me. And I was a usual lad, boy, man, growing into a young man. But everything then changed when I was 25. It was when I was 25 that the memories started coming back. I started realizing, accepting how horrendous what happened to me was. And up until then, I'd never forgotten about what happened. I just didn't care. Right. I was having a good time. I had good friends. We were out partying. I had this amazing career. Like, I just wasn't bothered about it. Something would come up on the news that would remind me of it. The Jimmy Savile case, as an example. Somebody would say something in conversation that would remind me of it. But it would send me off balance for maybe a minute or so. And then I was back to doing what I was doing. But again, at 25, that changed. The memory started getting me down. What happened started getting me down. And then I thought, well, I know what it is. I know why it's there. What am I going to do about it? I tried to ignore it. I thought that they would just go away. You know, we'd been good all these years. Why now? But that just didn't work. I sat with these memories for a couple of years. They just kept getting stronger and stronger. Then I spoke out for the first time to a close friend. And we can talk about that in a bit more detail, how that went. But once I'd spoken out to a close friend, I got a really good feeling from that. And over the years, I just continued speaking to more and more people. Then I started wondering where my abuser was and what he was doing now. And that was what led me to begin searching for him. And I was wondering, you know, is he still doing this to more children? Where is he now? What job has he got? And I felt almost like it was my responsibility to find out, because I'm the one that knows who he is.
Yeah.
And I couldn't let that go, because at the end of the day, I was thinking to myself, well, if I don't tried to find him and make sure that he's not still doing this to more children, then who is?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want it on my conscience if he is still doing it to more children and I knew I could have done something. That was the kind of thought pattern that was going through my head. So I started searching for him. I found him online. I messaged him. He blocked me. I reported him to the police and I couldn't prosecute due to a lack of evidence. So the case lasted for 18 months and was closed down. But then once that had happened, I was so angry that he denied it that I thought that he should face me. And that is when I then went and found out where he lived. I knocked on his door to confront him and he called the police on me. And I was arrested. I spent the night in the cell and I was charged with assault for pushing the door into him when he tried to slam it in my face, stalking for the amount of times I'd contacted him when he'd blocked me and told me not to, and harassment for finding out where he lived. And I went to court 3 times, and the final trial was last month. And I haven't spoken actually too much about the trial yet. And that's because I just feel the last year has been a lot about the situation with him. And I just felt like I just needed to refresh my content and just come away from that for a moment. Mm-hmm. But just, I know people are so eager to hear what happened in court that day. And just to summarize, and again, I'm happy to go into more detail as the conversation unfolds, but just to summarize, the day started very badly with talks of me going to prison for 6 months. Because harassment in this country is treated very seriously. You cannot keep approaching somebody if they've asked you not to. So that's how the day started. And then the day finished with everybody in that courtroom believing me and them seeing that I wouldn't go to these lengths unless there was a serious reason why. And I just got essentially a slap on the wrist and told to go away. I got no criminal record. I did get a fine, which we can talk about in a bit. Mm-hmm. And I was just told basically just go away. You've got a restriction order. And then that was it. I left that courtroom feeling like it was a victory.
Yeah.
Given the circumstances.
Yeah.
So that is a summary of what's going on. There's so much more detail to give as well.
What was, just out of interest, I turn this light off now, it's a bit bright. But just out of interest, what was he there? Was he in the court?
So he was in courtroom and he had to give evidence and he was questioned for 40 minutes by his barrister and my barrister. And for me, he crumbled. Like he crumbled under the questioning. Mm-hmm. That he was asked, why wouldn't you just let him, why you knew him, why didn't you just answer the door and say, what the hell, this is what I say about it. Any person, and I apologize for the noise, that's the bin man in the street.
Don't worry.
It's just timing.
You just never know what's going to happen.
It's just timing.
Yeah.
So what I would say about it is any man that is innocent in this situation, they would have opened that door and seen me, recognized me like he did because he knew me, and been like, Jeremy, what the hell is all of this about? What is all of this that you're saying? Like, what's going on? We need to talk about this. That would be an innocent man's reaction. Mm-hmm. A guilty man's reaction would be, oh shit. He's here. He's actually at my house. Let's get him, that panic, that reaction, trying to slam the door, trying to get the door closed in my face, trying to shout over everything I'm saying. That was the sign of a guilty man in my eyes and in everybody's eyes. And when they were asking him questions like, why didn't you just answer the door and just ask him what the hell he wanted? It's impossible to answer that when you know what the real answer is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he just completely crumbled. And after he crumbled, it gave me this incredible feeling of strength because I was like, when it's my turn, I'm gonna smash these questions out of the park because I haven't got to make anything up. I haven't got to make sure I've covered my tracks, and it was fine. I just answer the questions as they are, and what made it even, you know, and I'm not trying to say that the court situation was a great thing, but in some ways it just was a great thing, because I felt like I was not just standing up there for me. I felt like I was standing up there for everyone.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's how I felt.
Yeah. I just want to, I don't know what's going on with the lighting here.
Yeah.
It's a bit better. Can I just step back a bit, Jeremy, to, you said it happened for, was it just a few years that
Yeah,
you,
2
that
years,
it,
yeah.
yeah, I shouldn't say just a few years,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
just,
no
you know what I
problem.
mean?
Yeah.
It seems to me as though you completely blocked that. You
Yeah.
like, once it stopped, something in your brain sort of just put that back somewhere and just was in a memory bank to be forgotten, and you were able to just move on almost as if nothing had happened. That's how you described it. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So those memories had just been stored away, so, or as a protection mechanism for you as a boy, to go about your life. But you hear this a lot about survivors. I mean, more than ever now, survivors are coming out and they are speaking out. And there seems to be, from what I've analysed and looking at my own experience as well, children that don't do that, and they carry that guilt and shame, and they just don't tell anyone because it's such a taboo subject, but they carry it, and that just screws them up inside. And yeah, until later life. Or I'm hearing a lot more of cases like yours, Jeremy, where it is just completely put aside, but it will and does inevitably always come out eventually, whether it be nightmares, thoughts, triggers. And so, yeah, I found that quite interesting. I've learned a lot over the last few months that there's two different, seems to be two quite obvious ways that children deal with child abuse.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's interesting, but I in a way, I'm glad you managed to get part of your childhood back.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased about that. I work with children, and I just think this, thank God you were. And in a way, thank goodness these memories have come out, and thank goodness whoever it was you went to speak to, you felt that was the right thing to do. Because if you'd have been shut down there and then you would have been like the children, carrying all of that for the rest of your life. But instead, you've come out full blazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's so great, because I feel very lucky to have had that reaction to it, because it's really interesting that you say, I think for the children that don't have that reaction to it and they don't store it away and blank it off, they're then just carrying this heavy baggage that they're just too young to deal with. They haven't got a clue how to deal with it. And society definitely is not helping people in those situations talk about it, because nobody's talking about it. So how the hell are they going to talk about it? Yeah. So I feel very lucky and fortunate that I had this reaction to what happened. It allowed me to continue my life. Now, no doubt, of course, we could look back at my behaviors as a child, unpick them and say, yeah, that's probably because of the abuse. That's probably because of the abuse. Of course, we can do that. But every single thing that ever happened to us as a child affects your personality. So I just don't see any use, really. I'm not interested in that so much. I'm happy that I stored it away. I feel very fortunate that I did that. I feel very lucky that I did that. I also agree that you always have to deal with your stuff at some point. And maybe my brain released the memories when it understood that I was ready to deal with it. And I kind of feel like, because I had that very fortunate reaction to it, I had great friends around me, like a great set of friends that we're still friends today. I had all of these pluses, and that's kind of why I feel like I owe it to the subject, to the situations, take my position and just run with it and shine as much light on it as I can.
Yeah. Just going back again, you obviously didn't tell anybody about this when you were younger. So like many children, I believe you were the same. You just kept, once the moment it happened.
Do you know what? I didn't tell anybody that it was when it was going on or afterwards, because I didn't know it was wrong.
Okay.
That's my thing.
Okay.
You know, we were doing things to each other's private areas. We were kissing. We were doing this. We were doing that. I didn't know that that was not something that you do. You know, it was 1985.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
There was no internet. There was no, I mean, you look at things like music videos now, they're what porn would have been, soft porn would have been back in the day. Yeah. Sex is everywhere now. In 1985, it wasn't everywhere. You weren't even connected to the internet, right? Social media wasn't even thought of in those days. So you had no exposure to what was right and wrong to do with your body and other people's bodies. Nobody was talking about what abuse was. So I was the child who was involved in what I thought was a game with another man, and we were friends, and this was a special thing that we did. I had no way of understanding that what I was doing was wrong and that I need to tell somebody about it. So it finished when I was 9, 10. Then I grow to a 12-year-old boy, 14-year-old boy. Then I start having sexual interactions in my own life, you know, as you naturally do when you're a young teenager. And that's probably when my subconscious started to understand that what I was involved in was wrong.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's interesting that you say that, because I'm betting then, even now, there are still some, with the manipulation that comes with child abuse. I imagine that there are a lot of children. I know that there's far too many children being abused, still, always have been, and even more so now. But yeah, some children that are mind controlled to believing that what's happening isn't a problem.
Yeah.
But then how does that then progress into your later life? And like with you, it's going to likely come out and show itself in some way, shape or form. I mean, there's so many issues that come off of child abuse, isn't there? And I think that's why I'm really inspired by what you're doing, Jeremy, because you've opened the lid on it, and you're not stopping there. You're like, let's get in there and let's like get this out.
Absolutely.
And let's work on solutions to prevent this from happening in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, you can only imagine what kind of trust issues. And, you know, let's take trust issues as an example. You're a child, you're very cleverly manipulated into doing something that is wrong, 100% wrong. It's horrific. You grow into a young teenager, and then you look back and you're like, oh my God, I was completely tricked. I was completely fooled for this person's perversions. Imagine the trust issues that that would give a 13, 14-year-old. And you mentioned that, you know, way too many children are being abused at the moment. And I completely agree with that. But I want to add in there, way too many children are not being talked to about the rights and wrongs, right? How easy it would be for somebody to groom a 5-year-old. So easy. There's no problem with that. You know, few treats, few clever stories, few praises. You know, easy. They're in your back pocket in an instant. But if they knew what private areas are, and that if anybody touches them in that private area and they're to tell somebody, all of a sudden you have a line of defense that wasn't there before. So I'm very passionate in my work to not only start attacking the people that are doing this, but we need to have a little look at ourselves, because some of the responsibility is with us. We're so quick to talk to children about stranger danger, say no to drugs, and all of these very necessary parts of educating a child. But one of the things that is happening more than kidnapping through talking to strangers and more than horrendous drug taking is abuse with children. But we're just not addressing that.
And abuse with children in the home as well, or family or friends. It's not a stranger. So this stranger danger, go down that road, but actually there's a much bigger problem at hand that we need to address.
There's so many more conversations that we need to be having. And I hope that my work will initiate conversations. I've had a couple of messages from parents saying that they had never thought about talking to their child before they saw my work, and now they've started talking to them. And for me, I mean, that just makes everything worth it. Makes everything worth it.
I think and I wanted to talk a bit about this as well, because I think for some parents it's like, oh, you know, I don't want to be talking about that because I don't want to take their innocence away. but look at the bigger picture. Look at, you know, and that's why it does need to be blown up, because that just needs to be out of the way. You don't need that just completely gone. You need to go there.
That ruining their innocence thing, I don't know where that has come from, and if even people even understand what that sentence means. Like, what does it mean, ruining their innocence, talking about the parts of their body that nobody's allowed to go near? If that is ruining innocence, then talking to a child not to talk to strangers because they may get kidnapped is also ruining their innocence. But we're happy with that conversation. It's so unusual. You know, it's so weird in some ways. What are we even playing at? You know, and my argument about the ruining innocence thing is, if you do think there's going to be a risk of ruining your child's innocence by talking to them about private areas, then I wonder what the risk is if that child meets an adult that wants to touch them in the private area, and that child knows nothing about boundaries on their body. Then the risk of ruining their innocence through being molested is astronomical. So
no, and you really are as well. I've actually bought a book recently. My boy's 11 years old.
Okay.
And on the back of you and looking at what you're doing, I've done a bit of research and I've bought a book with him. And I mentioned it to a friend and she went, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're waiting till 11. You should have been talking about this from a lot earlier." And I know his dad's had a few chats here and there, but now I've got this book with him and it's all out in the open. And I'm so pleased, because I'm now realizing the only other place really he's going to learn about this is likely through his friends. Well, where they learned what they've learned from. Look at all the things that they're now watching now on their smartphones and on YouTube. So what on earth is he going to know? And that could be the first thing that he takes from that. And it was a bit embarrassing at first for him. It's not now. It's not now. It's kind of like, you know, before it was like, oh, you know, but actually it's out there now. We're talking about it. So I now know that he knows that if this happens down there, he knows what it is. You know, and he can come and talk to me about it. He doesn't have to go to his friend and then get some kind of warped conversation going on with his friends, which is great. But you know, it was like, but this, and thankfully it's, you know, it's all good, but absolutely get talking to your children. And I've been thinking about how things could have been spoken to me. You know, if I'd have known, if just the simple thing, Donna, if anyone touches you down there, it's wrong. Come and talk to me or anybody that you trust. That's all I would have needed to hear, Jeremy. And I would have been straight up there. You know, it's wrong. It's not your fault. That's it.
And the secret you're being asked to keep around it, and the game you're being asked to play, or the trade-off that you're having with this person, all of that is wrong, and you need to tell somebody about it. It's as simple as that. You know, it's as simple as that. And it's so interesting that you bring up that point. It's a significant point. If you don't do it as a parent, then the children are going to start talking about these things with their friends who probably learned something from a video they watched, or something they saw online, or something their older brother was talking to his mates with, and they're going to bring that in. It's like Chinese whispers. And that's no way. We all know that's not a clever way for children to be educated in this topic. And yes, no doubt, we wish we lived in a world where we didn't need to do this. These are conversations we shouldn't be needing to have with pre-pubescent children. But we live in that world. And until we don't, we need to take the precautions.
And I think this is where you're going to be making a difference. And hopefully a lot more people will start hearing you and get this out there. Because at the moment, it seems to be still kind of like it's not really a problem, although it is. It's like a taboo problem that still nobody's really talking about the extent of it. It's a huge problem, child abuse. It's massive, but it's still kept very quiet. The mainstream media don't cover it, you know, and it's so I think that's why it's easy. It seems easy for parents to just like still hide away, because everybody else is hiding away from it. But
so
that's not helping the situation. That means it's just going to get worse.
You're just closing it behind hiding it behind closed doors, and it's where it's thriving.
Yeah.
You know, so let me put this to you then. What do you think about this? This is a bit tricky. What do you think if they were to show a video, you know, of child abuse, recorded video of child abuse? We could take one of the many millions that are available online, and we were to show it on national TV. Do you think that would cause such public outrage? It would cause a global movement, you know?
Yeah.
You know, if you were to see, let's take a 5-year-old girl, let's really go for it here. Let's take a 5-year-old girl. You know, there's plenty of videos online of 5-year-old girls getting molested. We could say millions. So we could pick one of them and show it on national TV. I think it would throw the world upside down, because then people would be forced to actually see the reality of what's going on. And that's not a reconstruction. That's a real recording. We could just pick one from the dark web, right? And then I wonder if that would really give people a kick up the backside. Because this should be, I mean, look at let's call it a fantastic response to coronavirus. Whatever your views are on coronavirus, let's say that the global response to it, to take action, whether you think coronavirus is real or not, that's a different conversation. But the response to it, the global response by all the governments, all the people, all the news outlets, was incredible. We've never seen anything like it. It stopped sport, for example, until the problem was, you know, the Premiership, the NBA, that was all stopped. The Olympics didn't go on to make sure this problem was under control, right? Now, if we were to show on national TV a video of a 5-year-old being molested, that is a more severe situation. Sorry, that is just a severe situation. And I believe that it deserves that kind of response.
Yeah, I do. And when you look at the amount of money that's poured in, if you were to spend just a bit of that money and a bit of that, that focus, that would change everything.
Just clean up the internet.
It really would.
For starters, really would. Just clean up the internet. Get these major social media giants, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and the rest of them, to start monitoring their platforms easier. It's so easy. I'm 35 years old. I just make an account and start messaging. You know, you can be on Instagram from 13 upwards, right? I can message anybody I like, right? I should be being caught as soon as I press send. 5 seconds later, I should be caught. You know, that's the world we should be living in. And maybe we should be putting more pressure on these social media giants to dedicate a percentage of their humongous profits to this cause.
Yeah. I do think that that would be the right thing to do, Jeremy. Something like that would be the right thing to do. But I just sadly feel that we're way off that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I just think because it's just so hidden that I don't know. I just can't see that happening at the moment.
Nor can
which I do, but I do think that it should, and I think it would clean the whole thing up.
Yeah.
And I feel like something like that does need to get leaked out almost. It just needs to get leaked out.
Almost, you're right. It's almost like we just need one of the very clever hackers to, not even hackers, just to log into the dark web, you know, and just get one of these videos released. It's almost like, please, I wish somebody would do it, really. I actually released a short video proposing this, and it was funny because I think people are split. Nobody wants to see it, but everybody kind of thought about it and was like, I mean, nobody would be able to ignore that. It splits you in some way, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think people have been brainwashed here to sort of believe that actually that doesn't really happen.
I agree.
It doesn't really happen.
I agree.
And whilst that's a safe place for me to think. So I'll just cover that up and go along with my life. And and I find it's people that have had quite normal lives, which, you know, thankfully a lot of people have. It's the souls that have faced abuse or corruption or been in care been victims of some sort, unjust victims of some sort, that are more than this area is not covered. They know that this does go on, but so many more people are quite happy to just carry on, thinking that that's not real, because that's too much.
Yes,
that's too difficult to bring into my life, and it's so sad, because it's like, okay, that's your life and it's too difficult, but what about these millions of children's lives where this has been affected, that it's affected them? Bring that over a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think that attitude that you're mentioning there of, you know, it doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen around us, or it, you know, people are over exaggerating the situation. It's really not that bad. I think it's because it's so uncomfortable to think about. It's just easier to be like that. And then also that breeds the attitude of like, well, it's not really my problem. You know, I've got enough to think about. It breeds that kind of attitude. But then as more and more survivors are speaking out now, as the internet and social media has given, you know, I have explained a little bit about the trouble in social media platforms with, you know, people being free to message whoever they want, but also it's brought an incredible opportunity for other survivors to speak what they want to speak. I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation unless it was for YouTube, and we wouldn't be able to promote this conversation unless it was for social media. So I think it's just allowed survivors to breathe and say what they want to say. And of course, we all know, as soon as you see somebody speak out about something that in a way that you feel strong, and the same thing happens to you, it encourages you. So this can only get bigger. And I think the more people that speak out, the more it's going to get noticed, and the more people will be like, oh my God, for example, 10,000 people spoke out last year. Like, this is actually a bit of a problem, you know? And if you think, if every adult that's been sexually abused as a minor spoke out, I mean, it would be undeniable, the scale of the problem, right?
Yeah.
I know we're not there yet, but, you know.
So in a moment, I want to talk about some of the fabulous work that you're doing, but I just want to go back a little bit to your case. Your perpetrator, the man that abused you, he, in some ways, has kind of put himself out there a little bit, hasn't he? I mean, by going through that act of turning on you, surely couldn't have done him any favors.
Nope. So it was very ironic.
Yeah.
You know, it was almost like I felt in the driving seat from start to finish. I really did. It was very empowering, because once my prosecution attempt against him was over, it had failed due to a lack of evidence. That night that the case got dropped, he must have been able to sleep soundly for the first night in a year. And then I turn up at his door, and, you know, his wife's there, and she's obviously been fed this alibi, and she's like, we need to prosecute him and get him restricted from our area. You know, this is crazy. This is some madman turning up at our door. And he's probably like, well, we don't really want to prosecute him because, you know, he's talking about the truth. But obviously he's got to put some front on. You know, he's got to be like, yeah, of course, we will prosecute. And now he's going to court and he knows I'm outspoken. And it's like he's kicking up the dust again. So you're right. I felt in the driving seat the whole time.
You've done a video on this sort of, I don't know if you've got a good video crew there that's helping you with some of these videos, I think, because they're very well done. Yeah. And you can see, obviously it's not real, it's reenacted, but you do share a lot in there. Like, as soon as you started mentioning actual details of what he did at the door, then he would start raising his voice and shouting, because obviously his wife was there. Yeah. And so yeah, that is a very empowering. You've put yourself back in control there of that situation.
As soon as you start owning your story, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you start realizing that, and this is a continuous journey of realization and amendment, but currently the way I'm thinking about it is what happened between me and him didn't happen between me and him. It happened between him and 8-year-old Jeremy. I'm 35-year-old Jeremy now, a completely different human being. Yes, I came from that boy, but I'm a man now. My life is very different. What happened was between him and 8-year-old Jeremy. 8-year-old Jeremy got caught up in something that he didn't understand, right? So when I start thinking about it like that, I'm like, it's just part of my history, you know? It's just part of my history. We're all good, right? We're all good. And then I feel like I start owning the story, and then it's mine to hold up high in victory. Look at what I went through, and I'm here now. Not many. There's some strength to be taken from that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just felt in control, I suppose, in the driving seat the whole time, and I just hope that rubs off, or that shows in that video in particular.
Yeah, no, I think it does. I think it does. And wouldn't it be wonderful if the work that you do and what seems to be coming more out in the open now can encourage more survivors to find that strength and to look at themselves as the adult of that child now. You know, that was your child, that's the inner child, but now you are able to, because if everybody did stand up, like you said earlier, and, you know, go forward and face their abuser, then it would all be out in the open.
Yeah.
And that's a big message to abusers as well. You may be abusing a child of 5 years old or whatever age they are, and they may know nothing, but that doesn't mean to say that they're not going to be you know, grown up and come back after you.
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be more of this.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. I feel like it's brilliant. I just feel like you say, you may be getting away with it now, but be careful, because they're going to come for you.
Yeah.
Like, they're coming for you. The younger generations, I feel like the younger generations are more outspoken than ever before. Again, it's this internet thing. They are stronger than ever before, you know? And I do feel like observing how the vegan movement blew up is a good example of how people who believe in something have a voice these days, and they can change things, you know? I mean, I remember hearing statistics saying that like a vegan demand for food has gone up like 700% in like the last year. All the major outlets have started implementing it into their menus, which is an investment of millions. It's all just come from people who want to say something. They've got other people together who want to say the same thing, and they've just created something, and it's blown up. The more people start speaking out, the better, I believe. And the more stronger people feel. And yeah, you're just so right. It's like, just watch out, because they are going to grow up one day, and they are coming for you, because people just won't stand for it anymore. Like, people just won't stand for it. And the importance of calling these people out is not just about a personal thing and allowing, you know, possibly you'd want to call your abuser out in some way to release some, let's call it, pain for the moment. But it's not just about that. It's also doing your best to ensure that this isn't happening to more children.
Yeah.
Because you know for sure they did it once to you. The statistic is a paedophile has between 50 and 150 victims in their lifetime, they reckon.
Wow.
So it's almost like, if you're in a position to do so, call them out for your own personal progression, but also do it because you could be saving more children.
Yeah, yeah. Did you find with the police and the court system that you went through, Jeremy, did you find any sort of pushback? Did you find, I'm hearing that there's a lot of, you know, a lot of police, for various reasons, don't want to go near this. They don't want to bring, I mean, obviously you weren't the person that you were bringing forward wasn't in the police or anybody of that sort of status, I assume. So, but I do know that there are a lot of issues with child abuse that are kind of like, you know, they try and keep it away. Did you find any of that, or did you find that you had the support? I guess I'm trying to say.
The criticism that I've got with how the police dealt with my case is all due to lack of funding.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So the first mistake that was made that I think is so terrible, it just makes me sad even just thinking about it, was when I reported this and gave a 3-hour statement detailing every single thing that ever happened. And I gave names and phone numbers of the 20 people I've spoken out to. That should have been enough to arrest him and seize his computer. That should have been enough evidence, enough information. But what happened was he was put on voluntary arrest and asked to come to the station, right? Which gave him a chance to wipe his computer if there was anything on it. There probably was things on there. Yeah. If he's not doing it to more children, he's probably looking at it on his computer. That opportunity has been gone, is now vanished forever. We will never, ever recover that opportunity. And that could have been the opportunity to secure a prosecution.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, I return back to the point, lack of funding, right? Some people actually, as I just explained that, maybe lack of importance for seizing a computer. I never really thought about that. But lack of funding. Again, the person who was interviewing me, he mentioned to me that they used to have 2 officers in there to help the victim and get the best out of the conversation. Now there's only 1 because they can't afford to have 2. Some people have said to me that different police forces have different budgets for this situation. And it's possible Essex Police, who dealt with mine, the budget is low. So they couldn't, that's one of the reasons why they couldn't try to gather more information. And actually one of the reasons why I couldn't take him to court is due to a lack of evidence, but they have to have a marker to say whether they think something will stand in court. And they can't take every case to court, which would be the ideal, because there's not enough money. They can only take the strongest cases to court, and mine didn't make the cut. And that's, again, another thing to do with money. So you did ask, like, do you think it was taken seriously? And actually, as I've just explained all of that, the reason why there's a lack of funding is because it's not taken seriously. Exactly. People think this is something that happens to you as a child, then it's over, and then you just get on with it. It's not like that. It's like, if we want to just make a comparison, if you get a deep cut in your arm, it heals, but it's scarred over, right? And every time you look at that scar, you're reminded of what happened during that, why that cut was there. Now, interestingly, when it scars over, it toughens the skin. So we'll take that as a positive, but it's always there. It never returns back to its original state. People need to understand that that's what's going on here with sexual abuse with minors.
Yeah. And I've just done something here. I don't know if you've, how far you went into some of my podcasts, but I do the angels on my podcasts.
Okay.
I don't know.
I didn't see that.
No. Just, I kind of shuffle them. So I'm a spiritual person. I do believe in God as well, but I've always done the angels. And when I'm talking to a guest, I like just sort of shuffle them. So I've just been doing that.
Okay.
And then I have an overall card, which I kind of look at and share. And the overall card that I've pulled while talking to you, Jeremy, is the Angel of Trust.
Okay.
Which for me is a big card to have. I'll come to that in a minute. But also the first card that I pulled was the Guardian Angel of Young Adults.
Oh, wow.
So those 2 cards together and combined with what we're talking about is, I mean, trust is kind of gone out the window, isn't it, with abuse? I mean, it's just, I found it very hard to trust myself, to trust others. And like I said to you at the beginning, I carried a lot of guilt and shame around that. And over the years, thankfully, I've built that trust back. But I think that's I'll put some more thought into that card, but I think that's quite a powerful card to have got whilst we're talking about what we're talking about. What What are your plans, Jeremy? What are your what's your mission? I will say before you go on, there's some posts that you've been putting out there which have really been trying to get your audience to look into the depths of this. So looking into the depths of, for example, a child that from a very young age is watching porn and seeing the woman getting beaten and this, that, and whatever, and has no idea, how would he, unless he's got someone to talk to about it, to know whether to know that that's wrong. So he's then grown up and become an abuser because he's sat and watched all these and nobody's obviously supervised him. And this, you're going deep into that and then asking, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
What are you? And you're trying to get people's minds thinking about not just that it's happening, but why and how it's happening, so that we can just open it up. And that's what I'm seeing you doing, Jeremy. You are opening this up. But I see, obviously, I don't know you that well, but it feels a little bit like you're on your own a bit here. So you know, I think more people need to come together with you and really just blow this out, because you seem to be asking the right questions and looking into the right sort of situations to get people to think about it. So what's your mission?
My overall mission is just to open conversation about this topic. That's what my aim is with the majority of the work that I create. Open conversation about it, because that's one way for us to learn more about it and become more aware, and also to get people thinking. I'm trying to make my work interesting. I don't want it just to appeal to survivors, right? I don't want it just to appeal to people who have a direct link to the topic. Maybe they work in the field or they're researchers in the field. I want it to be interesting and engaging and catch the attention of everyone, including your average person sitting on their sofa on a Sunday evening, and they come across my post and they're like, oh, wow, that's an interesting question. What do you think about that? You know, that porn one being a good example. I want to get people involved. I want this, because this is everybody's concern. It's everybody's concern. You've either got a child yourself, or you've got a child in the family, or your friend's got a child. So then it's your concern. Where I want to take it is when I really reach for the stars. I really feel like I want to create a very successful TV series of some sort, a drama that, let's say, one of my ideas is to show how the life of a survivor unfolds. We follow a character, get people gripped in it. People love story. People love drama, right? I also would like to create a live performance. Let's take that story, that idea again, to show how the life of a survivor unfolds. Why can't we get this in the West End? You know, clever drama, clever movements by the characters, a massive orchestra delivering the music, like something that people can buy tickets to go and see.
Yeah.
Maybe we could go on tour with it afterwards. You know, I want to get this in the mainstream, but I don't feel I'm going to be able to do that if I do the usual. You know, I do want to do documentaries, so I'm not slating that, but the usual documentaries that most survivors watch, right? It's too uncomfortable for your average person to watch. I don't want to do it as like news reports. I don't want to do it as statistics. I want to do it in a way that people are talking about it. They're gripped to the story, you know? Everybody talks about what they're watching on Netflix, for example. Why can't we get a story about this on there? Yeah. So this is the kind of thing I'm reaching for. I am starting from the ground upwards. I used to be a design engineer working with cars and airplanes. So it's something completely different. I saved up some money. I sold all my stuff, and now I'm kind of on the road. And I'm developing this content. All the films that are on my YouTube channel, all the illustrations that are on my social media, they're all from contacts that I've had, connections that I've got now. We're working together. People feel passionate about this. People are interested in it. This is the most interesting topic you can talk about if you talk about it in the right way. Yeah. Nobody can, if you talk about it in the right way, from a place of empowerment, strength, interest, investigation, people are glued to it. You know, I've got people, friends of friends now that are like, oh, hi, used to go to school with you. Like, the stuff you're doing is super interesting. I've never thought about it like that before. That's how we raise awareness.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And yeah, and hopefully your story as well is going to really encourage more people to speak up.
Yeah.
And let go of that and talk it out. And it's going to be much easier for people to do if, say, you had this documentary out, or if, say, you keep on this road. It's just going to give more confidence for survivors to speak up and start really thinking about their other victims that their perpetrator probably has.
Yes.
Probably has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So you're on YouTube, and I love the way you do your videos. I encourage anyone watching or listening to this to go and find you, because you are, like I've said, you're going in there, you know, you're going in there, but in the right way. It's kind of like, and you're going in and you're looking at other people's situations as well and videoing them and then putting your comments in and just in your way, in your own unique way, bringing it out. And I was drawn to you straight away. So I'm really hoping that more people over the years, because I'm only a small YouTube channel, but over the years will start to find you. And I have no doubt that you will still be around. God willing, you'll still be around fighting this fight and bringing this out. Just one thing I just want to touch back. I know I keep going back, but I know I'm just trying to think of what some people might be thinking. How has this been with your family? Bringing this all out?
It has ripped my family and my friends' lives apart.
Wow.
And they will never, ever recover.
Wow.
That's why it's so important that we do something about it.
Can I just say as well, Jeremy, it's a reason why I haven't told my mum some things.
Yeah. So because of my prosecution attempt, it was impossible. It was unavoidable because everybody had to give statements. So I couldn't avoid it, but I also never wanted to tell anybody, but I had to start telling people because of the work that I was doing. And yes, it has, you know, the only way for me to describe it is it's ripped people's lives apart. Even my friends can't get over it. My friends can't get over it. I've got friends that were around when this was going on, and they still can't get over it. Some of them can't even watch my content because it's too much.
Wow.
It's too much. It's too much to know that your best friend went through something so horrific, so sad. And it's too hurtful when you know that person personally. And people just can't get away from it.
But isn't this why this is why another reason why it's so hard for survivors to speak out, because it's not just about them, is it? Trying to release what's happened to them. It's everybody else that it's going to have an impact on.
Yes, it really is. But, you know, I want to make videos directed to parents as well, just to let them know, if they can say to themselves, truthfully and honestly, 100%, that they had no idea, they are not to blame, right? They are not to blame. Yeah. But now, as we start talking more about education, I want to help people understand that they do have a responsibility. And now it's 2021. It's no longer the 80s. It's no longer the 90s. It's no longer the 70s. We now have a responsibility to take action. And if you don't take action, you're increasing the risk that your child could be exploited in some way. And then you will have some responsibility if it comes out. Yeah. So things are changing now. And these lives that are being ripped apart from us speaking out is fuel for our fire to keep going, raising awareness, getting this out there to ensure that we reduce the numbers significantly.
Yeah.
It's just fuel for the fire. That's the only way you can take it. Otherwise, it's going to get you down.
Yeah. 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 I love that. Have you got plans to go into schools? Are you already talking to schools at all with regards to their education? Is there something that you want to get involved in there?
So it's definitely an aim.
Yeah.
But there's so much red tape around schools. What I'm going to do is, instead of trying to create something for them, I'm just going to keep creating content, the best content I can. And then as things start going into areas of like videos that are suitable for younger children, which is something I'm aiming for as well, then I'll just start sending them to schools and see who picks it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if schools aren't going to take me because there is too much barriers, red tape, forms to sign, I'm okay with that. Then I'll just go around the back way and just create stuff on YouTube that children are sharing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we haven't got time to be messing around with rules and regulations, right? Tomorrow, doing this is urgent. Every day that passes is another day lost, right? So I haven't got time to be meeting headmasters and them saying, can you change the content? It's not suitable. If that is the case, then I'll just make stuff on YouTube and try to get teenagers sharing it.
Yeah.
Let's just really hit this.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. What can people do? Can anyone do anything to sort of help you, to follow you, support you? What, where can we point people to support you, Jeremy?
Fantastic. So please, check out my YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. They're the main ones. If you like the content, give it a follow. If you are sharing this type of content on your pages, give it a share, whichever one resonates with you. Next month, I have got a crowdfunding idea happening. It's going to be the first time that I have opened up a crowdfunding idea, and many people have been asking how they can support my channel. And this is exciting. This is a massive move, because at the moment, all the films I produce, I'm funding. And of course, that's not sustainable because I'm not working at the moment. I'm on this full time. So to start bringing in some help from people is going to be a massive move. I hope that this thing can run itself self-sufficiently financially at some point. This is one step towards there. So please check out my work. If you like it, follow. If you share this type of content, share. And when this crowdfunding thing gets set up, and you feel it's a good idea, what I'm proposing, come and jump on it. That would be a great help.
Brilliant. And I will put all of those links. And when you do get the GoFundMe as well, I can add that to the notes as well. And I was going to say something else there. It's gone out of my head. Can't remember what I was going to say. I was going to say something, but it's gone.
No problem. No problem.
But yeah, so I'm just really glad that you've come on and shared your story.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to sort of get across before we finish?
No, I think it's great to have these discussions now that are, of course, initiated by my story, but also about like what we're going to do about it now. I love this. This is the approach I feel is good. Yeah. At the start of this project, it was always, every interview was just detailing my story, and that is fine, and I'm happy to do that. But just to start talking about where we can go from here is just so powerful. So I thank you for this discussion, and I wish you all the best with your platform as well. And as things develop, let's just continue talking. Like, I'm happy to do this periodically, like we can keep in contact.
Yeah, well, I do a lot of work online now because we've been forced to. I do a lot of work with children. I used to do a lot of like wizard workshops because I teach magic as well to children as an entertainer, just to help with their confidence. And if there's anything, I'd love to stay in touch with you, Jeremy, because if there's anything that I can do, you can do a lot online. If there's anything I can do to help you with, if it's to do with a screenplay, I write as well. So I'm thinking about writing children's books now. The more this is on my mind, what other channels can we have to get through to children? The fact that this book that I'm reading with my 11-year-old has really opened things up, and it's really not taboo anymore. And I really know, I mean, we were talking about condoms and he was like, what's that? and I was like, and then I was even having a conversation where you can practice on a banana. and it's like, but it was just so like open.
Yeah, brilliant.
Just having this conversation. Brilliant. So he's like, whereas his friends will be like, and if your friends ever found if he says, oh, my mum told me, they'll be like, actually, no big deal. He now knows how to have safe sex.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not going to be for a long time from now, but he's like, he knows where he didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
And these things can get distorted from an early age and turn into whatever it's going to turn into. But the fact is, me and my son have had this chat. It's out in the open, and I now know he knows what's right, you know, what
Yep.
the right ways to
Fantastic.
know about it. And yeah, I'm
That is
keen
what
to
you
get
can
that
do
out.
as a parent. Brilliant.
Yeah, and
Inspirational.
I'm keen to share just what's gone on with this book, put that out there, because if
Yeah.
I can encourage more people to get a book like that and just to air it open, it's embarrassing for them and it's embarrassing for you, but it's
Yeah.
not once you've done it.
Yeah, well, maybe you could just do like a short video on that and even do a review of the book, just to let people, from a parent's perspective, you've experienced talking to your child. Maybe you could do a video on why, the result of the conversation, how actually it's not that bad. Like maybe parents need to hear that. That's great.
Yeah,
Fantastic
to encourage them
stuff.
to do it. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you so much. Let's stay in touch.
Yes.
And I will share this video as well with you, so you can do what you want with it. And I'm sure we will speak again.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, Jeremy.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.